You're listening to the Business and Life Podcast, where 7 days a week, proven entrepreneurs share their success stories, failures, and give you true value on how you can build a great business and an awesome life. With your host, Mike Olivas.
Greg, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. I'm glad you're taking the time here. Tell our listeners where you're from and maybe something interesting about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Vinnie Fisher. I'm from a little community just south of Cleveland, Ohio called Akron. And my 25th wedding anniversary is coming up in August.
What? Vinnie's the man. 25 years. What's your secret?
Patience, really. Like, I think for me, the biggest one is I got advice a long time ago to give your partner the benefit of the doubt. And I try daily to practice that. And I just have to remember that, I'm a difficult person to live with.
Yeah, well, I think, everyone has their their skeletons, but I think patience in business and in life and in relationships, that's a huge, great, characteristic to have. I definitely struggle with it sometimes on the business side, at least, for sure, man. So
yeah, right? They go together. I mean, what happens at home will actually emulate and reflect some of the things that happen or don't happen within your business environment.
So tell us a little bit about, your company, Fully Accountable. What does that specifically do? What does it bring to the marketplace?
Yeah, so we provide a full outsourced managed solution for accounting and finance. Specifically, we live in the e-commerce and digital world, right? We work with e-commerce, digital companies, product-based or digital service software guru-based, either of those categories. And we also work with agencies that serve those types of clients. So that's the world we live in. We provide a full solution where we have the bookkeeper, the controller, the financial analyst, and the CFO all packaged together for less than that bookkeeper in your building.
Oh, awesome. So you kind of just condensed, is there like SOPs, all that kind of process involved, or is it software driven?
We built our own software that sits up on top.
Okay.
We are your department, right? Our tagline is we're your back office solution. So we'll fill in the holes or take the whole thing.
How'd you come up with this concept?
I'm not an accountant. I'm not any of those things I just described.
Okay.
I'm a lawyer by trade, but I've been a business, I've been a guy in business. I've had a few good runs. Well, one of them was a large health supplement company. And in the process of that, I was massively frustrated with my CFO because I expected him to do all four jobs. I was paying him close to a couple $100,000 a year and was super annoyed that he wasn't doing all these things of the department for that thing. I realized that it really wasn't his fault. It was the design's incorrect. And so I started just changing the historical component of it, coming at it more entrepreneurial. And we fixed that company and doubled its profit margin by getting in and doing that work. And then that was in late 2014. And we started using my sister companies, my portfolio, as our first set of clients. And by the February of 2015, we launched to the world, and we made the Inc. 5000 list. We have 75 people on our team, and we're up to 500 companies in North America and all these fun stats. And we've been growing like crazy ever since.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, congratulations on all those successes. Now let's talk about some of the issues that you've had on the way.
Yeah.
Because I know, it's all not fun and rainbows, right? So give me a time where you felt you were either close or you hit rock bottom, or you came to the point where like, wow, I just had to overcome a disaster. What was that like?
Because I've had the wonderful privilege of building a couple 8-figure businesses and breaking one tragically, I can speak about that in and outside of Fully Accountable. I can speak about that. But one of the biggest ones for me was, I remember one night sitting in my driveway, and I had a large web hosting company. We were bigger. We were taking more daily sales than GoDaddy at one point.
Wow. And
I was sitting in my driveway, and the world, some people know this, and this is part of business. If you don't know these parts, then you aren't really living forever. You're just not being honest. You're opposed.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there, and we needed about $30,000 to make payroll. And I was like I wasn't on my knees because I was sitting in my car, and I was about to go in the house to like lead a church group. And I remember just feeling massively deflated. And I'm like, all right, Lord, what do you want me to do with this? Like, what's going to happen? Like, am I closing this thing? Like, are we making payroll? And all of a sudden, I'm not kidding you, it was like literally a minute later, I was like tears, and upset, I'm embarrassed, I'm ashamed. And our bookkeeper at the time, Kristen, called me and said, hey, we just got $30,500 wired into our account. Were we expecting that? And right at that moment, I'll be honest with you, Mike, that was actually the real moment. Because right there, I thought to myself, do I keep the 30 grand, start over, or do I actually fund the payroll and go for it? And, you know, I took door number 2. We funded the payroll.
Yeah.
And that was the big decision right there. I'll tell you, the big decision wasn't whether the 30 grand came in. It was, which path do I go, right? There's 2 roads. Which one do you travel? And I went in the house that night, led group, probably don't remember a darn word I said. It was probably awful. And this massive shame of a guy that was running a company at that point was doing $4 million a month in revenue. It wasn't like it was, you know, a little thing. I had 500 people on our payroll, and I was short the money to make that big machine keep going. And I was at that 11th hour. You know, I was reading recently in a book, you know, Shoe Dog, Phil Knight's book, where he was at that 11th hour of making payroll. And man, it brought back every one of those emotions that I had that day.
Wow. Yeah, no, those are some like crazy moments in business, but also, and it kind of checks you in life and who you are, of doing, you know, the right thing or the popular thing or what makes it easy. But I think some true entrepreneurs take the route less taken and the hard one, taking the hard way, right? And then figuring it out. So, I mean, props to you for doing that. Why do you think there's, in your experience, and you've seen a lot of entrepreneurs, you've been one, but in your professional opinion, Vinnie, what do you think, like, entrepreneurs out there just decide to stop on the dream, stop on their business venture all in general?
You know, I think it's actually the general reason why people stop. And I think as the category of entrepreneurs, where we live in this realm of the 1% to 3% category of the world, it's no different. There are people who think about things and there are people who do it. And in somewhere along the way when you're doing it, the only differentiator, you're probably a lot smarter guy than me, Mike. I'm around very smart people all the time. I will say this, the ones that separate all the time are the ones who either have some resolve where they just don't quit, or they're, in my case, just diminished enough in intelligence to realize you shouldn't quit. Whatever way that category gets there, when you reverse that on its head, most people, quite honestly, just quit. They're discouraged. They don't see, you know, it's the sad epidemic of why people might even take their lives today. They just don't see that there's going to be an option that's better tomorrow. And it's true in business. Like, you're faced with this gargantuan task, and one of the options is to just give up. And I think people take that option far too often.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I mean, it's kind of cliche sometimes to tell either my clients and or listeners to just not quit. And it's like, it's the truth, but there really is a lot to that, right? Then you're like, just keep going, keep learning, keep going with the punches. It's going to suck sometimes and it's going to be awesome at other times, but it'll be better than it is worse. But, you know, you start learning how to take those bullets versus dodge them as you kind of grow as an entrepreneur and a business owner. And I think that's really good advice. Just stick with it, especially, and it's, you know, especially if you believe in it. And I think that's definitely just as important as before you even get started on not going.
Because there's like, Mike, your point is well taken. There could be all kinds of things where you don't even like the business you built. You have this awful relationship to your own company. And I've done that. I've built things that are 8 figures that I didn't even like. I had an allergic reaction to my own company. Like, that's a real thing.
Wow. Well, I mean, in terms of your current industry, what are you excited about within the business? Life Nation, we're all striving towards different goals. Maybe your goal is to finally quit the 8 to 5 grind, quit your job, or take the next step with your existing business. Whatever the goal may be, regardless of your reasons, if you are serious about taking the next step and finally trying to build the life that you deserve, the life that you want to live, take the leap of faith. Go to michaellevis.com and let's discuss your goals and life. It's 100% free. No obligation. It's michaellevis.com. Schedule a quick call. I'd love to help.
Yeah, you know, Fully Accountable had a good run. I really love the people we work with. But right now, I'm actually massively excited about taking our enterprise and bolting on or acquiring some good synergistic businesses that take our enterprise and make it much bigger. Because I'm at this crossroads. We're just big enough where we're not small, but we're small enough where we're not a big boy. In order to play that game, I have to make a decision. This is the entrepreneur's journey. Do you love the organic growth you have, or do you get seduced by boredom where you want to go break it? Or are you really maturely looking at what you have and say, am I better off joining into an organization or bolting things onto mine? And that's the crossroads I'm at. I think my executive team, along with me, we want to take the journey of bolting things onto us and see if we can really make a bigger difference.
I think when you start getting into that role, you start, it doesn't become like business or making money. You know how to do that. You know how to create the systems to do it, right? It's like the battle of the models. And when looking at that, it sounds, you probably want to build, it sounds like an ecosystem that you're trying to build to kind of bolt onto a lot of things. Is that similar to what you're trying to build with your current company, Fully Accountable?
Yeah.
Awesome.
What got us to this growth was defending and clarifying an avatar, a niche.
Yeah.
And so, getting to late stage 7-figure and early stage 8-figure, that's great. Getting to that next multiple enterprise, we have to decide, do we want to bring more of that client service in by having friendly sister companies, like buying a tax software or increasing other expansion? Or do we want to expand our service lines and maybe decide to go beyond e-commerce and digital and serve law firms or healthcare or, non-for-profits, and then maybe go acquire firms that are doing those things? And so when we talk about what we're able to solve as a company, what we've been able to offer in pricing, that can work in other categories. And so both of those things are on the table, and that's what we're looking at. And so our organic growth's great. We're not stalled out. We are built by a growth freak. Right. And one of the bits of advice I'd say to people is be very careful of boredom, because boredom for me early in my career was an indicator to go do something else. Boredom is actually a compliment. That process has caught up and allows you the room to do other things.
No, I love that. That's a really good point, because there's a lot of people probably listening that may have it all set where they have the processes and procedures and the systems in place where boredom starts to kick in. But this is where hopefully people like yourself get to become, whether they like the word or not, the visionary, right? You're thinking about things, and I think true entrepreneurs try to do their best to tell the future. What are we doing, 2, 3, 5 years from now? And I think that is really important, and that's what the visionary role is. And it can allow you to be, a lot more creative, I think, when you're able to, financially, of course. But in your experience, you've had several businesses that have been awesome, obviously great successes in terms of, what their figures were. What do you feel the biggest difference or impact a company would need to be from 1 million, for example, to 5 million? What is that biggest growth struggle for a $1 million dollar company to get to 5?
I love the way you position that question, because I think what it takes to get to a 7-figure business, by the way, of all businesses, 7% of all businesses, 6.94% only ever hit 7 figures.
I know.
So it's a very small privilege to get there. But what got you to that point, what gets us to that point, is extremely different than what gets you to 5 million. And so the funny thing that has to happen at $1 million that didn't happen at $1 million is you actually have to invest in process procurement, system. You have to give the tools to your great people that didn't exist when you dragged it to 7 figures, that need to be in place to get it to 5. Because to get to that 5 million, there's a combination between the value proposition of your business, the clear avatar of who you serve. Those things are real, because if you want your client churn to go massively down, your impact and what problem you really solve, the 0 to 7 figure is the wrong analysis. The right analysis is that 1 to 5. Yeah. And for me, maybe it's different for other people. I'm people before systems. So I'm always going to have a high EQ, but what I believe, what I know, what I've proven is that because I have good people, if I want to make them better people, by giving them process and structure, I take good people and make them better people.
I love that. I think that you said people first, then systems. And I think you're absolutely right. I mean, like, what is good to great? Have the right people on the bus first before you even start that thing and go, right? And I absolutely agree with that. People are gold. People are, I think they're just a lot more dependable as well than algorithms, right, out there. And they really are. At least you can control that. If like YouTube just stopped doing some type of marketing with like children marketing and advertising where some kids and their videos were making millions, now that's done. You don't control that, right? But you can control what actions are being done by people that want to do those actions. I can't think of that
girl's name, the one who built her whole business on Google+.
Yep.
Well, that was a bad day when she heard that announcement.
Gone. Yeah, that's like exactly. What do you control in your business? And if the market has something to do with it, or the fact that advertising is getting crazy expensive, then you need to really recheck how you're able to either do outbound, create inbound, and or just organically make sure that things are closed. And believe it or not, you might be able to find out that you could do it for even cheaper than what you, a lower price at least, than what you would do it online. So out of all of your businesses and experiences, give us one piece of parting advice that you give to the entrepreneurs out there listening right now.
It's a bit of advice I heard from the founder of LegalZoom. And so I'm going to push back that because I use it. I think that every business should be focused on profit margin above everything else. And the only category of business that shouldn't think like that are the ones that are properly externally capitalized. So if you have enough capital to grow, go for your eyeballs. If you don't, and you don't allow margin to rule the day, you're going to run out of cash. You're going to commit your own level of business death. And that's why 80+% of companies never see their 5th anniversary, is that their runway for growth has been exhausted by them choking their own cash flow because they put gross revenue above margin. And I'll tell you, if anyone hears me at every stage of your business, until you have a sufficient capitalization, it should always be margin first. I
can't agree with you more on that. Understanding, they'd be surprised of how many CEOs and owners might not even understand what the numbers are. Right.
By the way, I'll tell you, Mike, that was my problem. I'm actually a lawyer. I'm a tax lawyer. I'm a corporate M&A guy before I jumped into the business world, right? I lacked just enough financial fluency where I was embarrassed about not knowing things. And because of that, I would defer to my marketing skills and my affiliate and my sales ability and grow gross revenue. And I broke that big company we're talking about because I didn't understand enough pieces of business language, that finance fluency, to be able to operate it. I was afraid and diminished. I avoided it. And my good advice to anyone today is get just enough cocktail napkin fluency as a leader so that you don't run away from it. You are willing to hear it and accept the friction that goes along with the language of finance that is really what rules the day in business.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You don't gotta live in it, right? But you gotta understand it. And I think my very first coach and advisor, and I told him I suck at math, and he's like, "That's okay, but you can fall in love with the numbers." And he was right. I fell in love with the numbers, and I knew them. And you start learning things like the cost per acquisitions and cost per leads and what you're spending and where it's going and fixed costs, and then knowing what your true bottom line net is. What are you bringing in after each deal? And those things really start going through your head, and they have a impact on every decision that you make. Hence, going back to your great advice, which is every business should be focused on profit margin. I do appreciate your time. Those are great sound bombs. Where can people find you before we exit here?
Yeah, you can find me at fullyaccountable.com, right? They're very accessible there. I have a large footprint socially at Vinnie Fisher. You can find that on Facebook, LinkedIn. You can find me at Vinnie at fullyaccountable.com there. I'm pretty accessible. If you can't find me that way, then my team's not doing something right. I'm our brand ambassador, so I'm very accessible. One of the things I'd love to give you guys as a gift is, something for your community. I love what you guys are doing. So at fullyaccountable.com /you tell me what that is, we'll provide a treasure trove for your people of things that they really need in their business. So what would you like that to be?
Yeah, let's just do /Michael Levis. That way they can find it. And it'll be simple, and they can I'll make sure we put that link in the show notes as well.
Yeah, great. And so we'll do that for you, Mike. They'll get some of the books that I've written, but a lot of resources where I really want the fluency of the CEO to be real, and they win at this. And if we can get more of our fellow Mavericks winning at this part of business, we could really continue to offer this value in the proposition of our companies for a lot longer.
Awesome. Thanks so much for all of that value in your story, Vinnie. I appreciate it.
Hey, Mike. Thanks for having me on the show today.
Absolutely. Life Nation, you've got to remember that in order for things to change, you must change. And in order for things to get better, you must get better. You just got better by hanging out with me, Michael Libas, and the Business and Life Nation. So come back tomorrow because I'm here dropping sound bombs 7 days a week, baby. If you'd like to subscribe, please do, so you can take action and execute. See you tomorrow.